Sorry, I lost it for a second. Okay, you can unlink those if you need
You
to.
can unlink these if you need to. And the way you do that is you go to your home screen and you'll notice down here at the bottom it says link. You press that button and it unlinks them as long as you had one of them selected. Now you notice they're not linked together.
How would you link them back?
Very good question. Same exact way, select one of them and hit your link button. It's going to say, do you want to link aux 5 and aux 6? And we say yes. And now they're linked.
Did it notice say those two because they were you moved them to the same position?
No, it's always going to link the odd and even next to each other.
Okay.
So you cannot link 1 and 6 together.
Gotcha. They have to be next to
It
each
has
other.
to be 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6.
So
Or
you can't even link 2 and 3.
you could not,
Okay.
which I've tried so many times accidentally. But you
So
can't do that.
I actually have a question about
Yeah.
this. So if I wanted to add another like aux in, I plug it into the back somewhere.
Yes, somewhere.
On the one that says 1.
No, there's
1 and
the
2?
auxes are all over here.
Over there, and
And
it's the double. It's the
it's-
red. It's the white and red.
Well, you've got one set of RCA's.
Okay.
The bottom row is your outputs. So you could actually run RCA outs to like a recorder, a CD or something.
Sure. Do I have more inputs?
Yes, the other inputs are quarter-inch.
Quarter inch. Okay.
So you have to use a quarter-inch cable.
So I guess I
Got
guess
hundreds of those at the house.
my question is, say
my
I've
old
got
days.
music on my phone that we
Yes.
need to play during the service. How do I get it off my phone and to come out those speakers?
Very good question.
We need a Bluetooth receiver.
Right. No, you could use a Bluetooth receiver. We actually do sell a little Bluetooth box that has it actually has XLR outputs, but again, we don't have any XLRs configured on the back of this, any mic inputs configured. But you could use an XLR, a Bluetooth box and plug into it, or you could use what Jonathan was talking about, and somewhere here he had a cable, but I don't know where it went. All you need is a 1/8 inch that goes into, if you had
I
one.
do, yeah.
Okay, because a lot of these don't now.
yeah.
But if you have an 1/8 inch out, then
You just need
you
to.
can
Yeah,
get
all
an
right.
1/8
Quarter
inch
inch.
to do a
3
quarter.
millimeter?
Yeah, the
3.55.
3.55.
Yeah, and actually I've got, because you can get adapters
So-
that'll go from light.
Right.
to
Yeah.
dark, too.
So in theory, all I got to do is plug it in with the right cable,
Plug it in with the right cable. Yeah.
and then make sure the right channel's selected.
So what would happen back here on the back, you'll notice, if you were to look at it, the aux 5 and 6 actually has a quarter inch and then an RCA and then a quarter RCA and then a quarter inch. You could, excuse me, you can only use one or the other on those on 5 and 6.
Okay.
Right now we're using the RCA's. But on 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, you could use those quarter inch and just plug a cable in there. Like I say, we sell those cables as well.
Okay.
I usually provide one, which I did, to plug up the computer.
Sure.
And
Great.
and then you can just plug another one in there. And,
Okay. So these are all
pretty
available.
expensive.
These aux 1 through 4 are all available.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Got it.
Yep. And so you could literally have two of them if you wanted.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So you could have two different ones up here going to town. Okay, so those are your auxes. We talked about the main stereo, the pan and balance. We link these back together. Again, that's from your home screen. You can also, to configure the actual scribble strip, which is what this is here, that's what they call that. The scribble strip can be configured by going to home, selecting a channel, and then go over here to, where is it configured? Nope, setup. Go to setup, and then you'll see scribble strip is one of the tabs on here, and you can arrow over to scribble strip. Now you can go in here
Choose your
and
color.
choose the color. So for example, let's go back over here to one that isn't being used. We can select that, and you can change the color on that. And notice if you select black, it's gonna not
Give you
show.
nothing.
Yeah, You can also invert that, so you'll notice
yeah.
how it inverts the color between the name. And then, and some of these colors are kind of hard to read, but anyway, once you select that, then you can select an icon if you so desire. You can also, not a lot of people don't select icons, and they just put words in here. And you can always edit the text, and type whatever you want.
I was about to say, yeah, if we wanted to say label the mic so that individuals that use the mics often,
Because,
we could do that.
because, I mean, generally...
But then every time we went back to the default setting, it would lose it
Yeah, exactly. Unless you save it.
unless you save it.
And, but the...
So we're going to have to figure out how to save it.
I would suggest that generally, if you're making any major changes, save it. And,
Thanks.
Yeah, the whole like losing stuff and saving stuff, you totally lost me on that. I'm not exactly sure what happened.
you know, generally, if you know how to load the stuff, you may not even care about programming these buttons, because when you turn the thing off, it's going to keep whatever the last stuff was in there. And you know, if you're going Sunday to Sunday, generally I recommend make it a habit, save your stuff every week. But there are a lot of situations where the churches will have different volunteers every week.
Yeah.
I think I've got
That's
a
us,
rotating
too.
four.
We need a default, yeah.
And so, but that can be, you could do it one of two ways. You could have each person have their own settings. You can have up to 99 settings in here. So you could have each person have their own, or you could have traditional,
Contemporary.
and I think that's
I think that's
generally
easier.
That's
easiest
generally
way.
easier, especially right off the bat.
Okay, so can you go back
Yeah.
and explain what happened when you say you lost your settings? And
Okay,
that you have
before
to
I
save
do,
yeah.
Okay, before I do, let me finish this one real
Yeah,
quick.
finish that.
So basically, if you're setting the name in here, you'll notice that there is a backspace button in here, and there's also to get to lowercase or numbers and symbols. That's on this last one. So if you do all of that, and I will say there are some names in here, but I don't think you're always going to have, what is it, Jan and
Axel,
Lisa and Axel, yeah,
Jerry.
Jorg. I don't know. Anyway,
So let's say we made those changes, and I wanted to save it into my settings. How would I save it back to 1 if that's where I'm at?
okay, so first I want to show you how to load it without pressing these buttons. So,
Wait, can we ask
yep,
one more question?
Absolutely.
If I press one of these buttons, what is it going to screw up?
Nothing right
Okay.
now,
Until you
now.
press
because we
right.
haven't programmed them anymore.
Until you.
Press right. If you press 1, one should
When
still
we
work.
program these, no, it doesn't, because we hadn't saved either one.
Okay, I'm so
Okay.
confused. This whole thing is confusing me.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're going to have to.
Okay, so the buttons, we hadn't saved the scene yet. So
Right.
So the buttons,
We deleted the buttons by
deleted
pressing
them.
the button.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, once we pressed the button, at that point it was programmed, but it wasn't saved into the scene that we just loaded.
Okay.
So we just lost it. We lost our programming. So we're going to go back and honestly, I've never encountered that because I've never had anybody want to program these for loading a scene. So,
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's always a learning curve. But we're going to go through that. So first, what I want to show you is over here under scenes. This is where you would normally save and load your scenes.
Okay, well, that's easy enough.
It is. So that's why I say, that's why I've never had anyone actually want to program these, because if you don't know how to get here, you may not want them to.
Yeah, I mean, we
To load
can
it.
do that. So you just press
So
scenes and move
all
up
you
or
do,
down.
if you start at home,
Yeah.
you press scenes, you have to go over here to scenes.
Go over a tab.
Yeah, because the first one is cues, which is only used in theatrical stuff. So that's only for different scenes in a play.
Right.
So, but if you go to scenes and then you hit the right arrow to the tab that says scenes, now you've got all your different scenes here. We've got a base, which was the base that I started with. which really right now is the same as contemporary and the same as traditional because I just saved them all. So we'll update those. But basically, you just go to your traditional, and you hit load. Did I hit the right button? Hang on. Let's go back.
Looks like you're trying to rename it.
Cancel.
Yeah, I didn't. We'll go back to home. Back to scenes. Over. Oh, I hit the wrong button. You hit load, and it says load scene traditional. No to cancel or yes. We say yes. It loads it.
Okay.
And then if
So-
you hit, and then if you're the same thing and you hit save,
Yeah. So now if you hit save, it defaults to what you're on traditional.
Traditional.
And then you just hit save.
save
over
again. So if I make a
then
change,
yes.
that's what I do. I go
I
to scenes, I go to
gotcha.
thing, I hit
Gotcha.
save, I hit yes. Okay.
Okay.
Here. Yep.
So when
That's
you were
it.
saying that
Save, yes.
you should save it after every service,
Yeah.
meaning if we tinker with this meaning if we make any changes whatsoever for any reason, we
Right.
should go back into the scene and save
Yep.
save the scene.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. No longer confused.
I mean, but keep in mind that if you save it, you don't have it anymore. The old one.
Right, like it
So,
overwrites it.
it overwrites
Right,
it.
the old version is gone.
Yes.
Right.
So, and that's why I asked you,
If
are
you
you
save
sure you
it.
want to do that?
Put a different name on it.
Yeah, and you
Get
can
save
do that,
as
too.
instead of
Save
just
as.
save.
You can do that, but just
Traditional 1, 2,
Yeah,
3.
No, it's gonna. I mean, what's gonna happen is what he was talking about. It's gonna be Joni, Jeff.
Yeah.
Right.
so be careful about that. But I mean, generally, if you're just making minor changes, any kind of minor or any kind of major change, or I guess really, if you're making major changes, save it. If you're making minor changes, like you're just adjusting levels, you may not want to save it because if you mess something up, then you can always load it.
How do I roll down to contemporary? I mean, I know this is a
you
stupid
just-
question.
just
Okay,
turn the
just turn
knob.
the knob. Okay, great.
Because like a lot of times, depending on who's singing,
Yeah.
like you have to individually adjust the levels for each person.
Yeah.
So
That could
and
change the next
But if
week,
you're
so-
if,
Yeah,
that
well,
changes
yeah, you want a
every week.
you want a baseline.
you need a
though.
baseline.
but if you're
yeah.
just changing the levels of it, then
So Les
I'm not
comes
sure
in
I
at
would
8 o'clock,
necessarily
sets it
change
up for traditional.
Yep.
yeah,
We
So-
come in at 10:30.
switch it to
We
contemporary.
need to switch it to contemporary.
Switch it to contemporary. Yep. Yep. And the only differences there is I was just going to set right now set the traditional to have everything muted except the 4 mics that they use.
Oh, okay.
Because in there, the only mics there that I've noticed they've used is the rector mic, the lectern mic, piano mic, and the vocal
Then we probably won't
mic
be
one.
using the piano mic.
Yeah.
And it's, if when the trumpet's here,
Here's the reason that I say I would contradict that. The reason I put a piano mic on it was for twofold. One is to record the audio in the second service, but in the first service, I noticed that over on the, even without the trumpet, with the trumpet, it didn't matter. That side of the room didn't get the piano. Okay. And so the piano is heard, but it's muffled over there. So if you can think of this as a reinforcement system. If you think of it that way, then you're going to end up with a much better sound throughout the entire room. So that's why I wanted to mic the drums, and I put a little bit of drums in here so the other side can hear it, because everything's crammed into this corner. If you had piano over there, you would want to do that as well, because you'd want to hear the piano on this side as well.
Yep.
So it just equalizes things much more. So.